Good morning, everyone. It is a very gloomy, cloudy day here, and I just want to start this video by saying, if you notice tears or hear me sniffing or getting choked up a lot, I'm not emotional today. It's the weather. I finally decided to get to 70, so now my allergies are going to ruin it for me. So I noticed that I have got several new subscribers. Thank you and welcome. And thank you all for always being here. And so I thought, well, I have never really done a story of where I came from or, how I happened here or anything. So I just thought I would do that today. If you're interested, just keep on watching. So I'm only going to go back to when I was, about graduating high school. My dream was always to get married, stay home, and have babies, and be a homemaker. I wanted to take care of the babies. I wanted to do the shopping. I wanted to do all the mom things. I wanted to keep the house clean. I wanted to, run things at home. That's what my dream was. But in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, that was not something that was admired. What people thought you needed to do after high school back then was get a job. Most people didn't go to college at that point, but everybody, would get out of high school or keep the job they had in high school and get another one and just work, just go to work. And if you wanted to get married, that was fine, but you still worked. And if you wanted to have babies, that was fine, but you still worked. And you found a babysitter or a daycare for those children, and you worked because that is what was done. If you wanted to stay home and raise your babies, you were looked down upon, called lazy. I was called lazy. I was said that I had no ambition because that's what I wanted to do. Years later, of course, I realized that that is one of the most ambitious things that you can want in your life, is to raise a family and have kids that know how to behave and turn out well. But when I was growing up and it was my time for that, I was told, no, you need to work. So I did. And I worked downtown. I absolutely hated driving downtown. I hated it, but I did it every day. I finally met someone that, yes, I knew in the beginning of the relationship that he drank too much, but I was like, well, there's a lot of guys that's married to my friends and dating and stuff, and once they get married they straighten up, and I thought it was all gonna be okay, and it wasn't. But I fought and fought because my religion, Catholicism, said divorce is not an option, and no matter what happens, you need to stay in the marriage. Fast forward 2 babies later, and the kid's very, very small. And finally, I just couldn't do it anymore. And we divorced, and I went out on my own, still, had to work. And I had gotten a job at, well, I should go back. What precipitated the divorce mainly was because I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, made a decision to go back to school, and became a medical assistant. I wanted to go on from there to become an RN. That never happened, but I did have a career in medical assisting for 25 years. So I, against his wishes, enrolled in school and attended and graduated. And then after that, I got a part-time job as a medical assistant. And for 25 years, I worked for the same company under different names, but it changed hands and, under the same umbrella. So I was with the same company basically for the 25 years that I worked. And so after the divorce, my job worked into full-time. And there's so many stories. I worked in pediatrics. I gave newborns their shots. I gave little ones their shots. I was pretty good at it too. I could get that shot in them before they even knew it was coming. And I took care of the elderly. And I remember this one woman stands out to me so much still, even to this day. She was this little elderly woman in her upper 70s. Her son would bring her into her doctor appointments. Of course, he was a grown man with a family of his own, but he was taking care of her. And her husband had died about 6 months prior. They'd been married for like over 60 years. And so she was sad and lonely, and every time that he would bring her in for a visit, I'd take her blood pressure, and it would be sky high. I mean, so high that the doctor that I worked with would send me down to the pharmacy to get that pill that reduces your blood pressure like within a half an hour, because she was critical. And the doctor would talk to her, and you need to take your medicine and you're going to be good, right? And I'm going to see you next week. And she said, yes, honey, I'll be good. I'll take my medicine and everything. And the next week she'd come back and we'd be doing the same thing. And her son followed me out in the hallway one night, and he said, it's not anything that you or the doctor is doing. She's just not taking her medication when she gets home. The only time her blood pressure is normal is when you guys give her that pill while she's here. And she doesn't really want to take it, but she takes it from me. And I said, well, why is she not taking her medicine? And he said, because she doesn't have my dad anymore, and she has a death wish. And she figures if she doesn't take her blood pressure medicine, that hopefully sooner than later, she'll have a stroke or a heart attack and she can be with dad again. And I never even considered, that that's what was going on. I mean, I learned so much about humanity when I was, working in this job. It was the hardest job. It's one of the hardest jobs out there, to be quite honest with you. I mean, we would hit the deck running and not stop until the last patient left the office. Very hard, a myriad of things. At one point, I did all the referrals. At one point, I worked for 5 years solely with one of the physicians, family physicians. So we saw everything from infant till almost death. I worked OBGYN. Didn't really like that. I specifically worked peds, and I didn't like that either. Geriatrics, I enjoyed that back then. I don't think I would now. Maybe that's because I'm a geriatric patient myself. No, not really. But back then, I really enjoyed taking care of the little old people, more so than the kids. Because when you have a child patient, you've also got mom, dad, grandma, everybody in the room giving their opinion, and so yeah, my dream was to be a stay-at-home mom. That was not acceptable. And so I thought, well, I need to do something with myself besides just being, part-time at McDonald's, because I did that, I did that in high school. I needed to be something a little more if I was going to be forced to work. And since my marriage wasn't working out, that, was not an option. I had to get a job, and I wanted to get something that would hopefully support us. Little did I know, it did not. That fabulously support us. And I never did get around to going back to school to get that RN or anything. Eventually, I moved offices and would answer the phone and do triage. And we were trained in telephone triage through he was an RN and he had been to England or something where they originated this telephone triage where, you have to ask the right questions, surmise how much of a emergency it is. Do they need to be seen that day, in 2 days, or is it okay to wait a week? And you also have to hear the underlying tone of what they're saying. So I did that for several years. That was a very high stress, important job, because if you screwed up and you made the wrong assumption, somebody could get really sick and end up in the hospital or worse. Then after that, they moved me to another office and I answered the telephone there, but it wasn't like necessarily triage. By then the doctors were like, we don't want you girls doing this. I need all the messages to come through the doctors. So all the messages were coming through the doctors. And then we'd have to call the patient back based on what the doctor said and get them in whenever, which was kind of nice because if the patient didn't need to be seen for a week per the doctor, then we could just fall back on what the doctor said. So, wasn't on us. I'm so sorry. And then they created a new department, and they named it Appointment Navigator. And what it was whenever a referral came through from any of the many offices that were around the city, they would come to Appointment Navigator. They would be dispersed amongst all of us that worked there, and we would be in charge of seeing what insurance could be seen by what doctor, who was in network, who wasn't, if they weren't, how much patient responsibility was going to be. Working one referral could take a good, if everything went right and you could get a hold of everybody you needed to, maybe a half a day, but you had to start one and then go another and another and another, so you just keep going so you didn't get behind. It was very, very stressful. And again, they moved me downtown, which I hated. And that is when, in 2011, I started to get some symptoms of the cancer, and it just got worse. And then that's when I was diagnosed, was in 2012. And I was still in that position, and I gave up that position at that point in time. So, yeah. I was just thinking about, my career and some of the memories that I have from back then. I've got friends, work friends are the best friends, because who understands what you're going through more than somebody you spend at least 8 hours a day with and go through the same thing with them over and over. So I made tons of friends, really close friends, not just coworkers. And to this day, I still see them, and we still talk, and we still share each other's grief and each other's happiness. And so, yeah, it was meant to be for me to be in the medical profession and be where I was when I was, even though that wasn't my dream and I was put off from what I really wanted to do. Everything, I think, is pre-planned. And to a point where I know people say there's free will, but I think that even if you come to that fork in the road and you choose left, I believe that it was pre-planned for you to choose left. If that makes sense. That's just me, in my opinion. So this has been about 15 minutes of me gabbing, but I just wanted to give you a little more insight of me, what I have a background in, where I came from, and have a great weekend, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.